Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about BTP, as I mentioned to you guys before. So, BTP is a protocol from Cisco, and it's a cool protocol. And the reason why is because um, if you have between, let's say, between 9 to 100 switches in your environment, uh, basically BDB is gonna help you out to propagate the VLANs between the switches. So in that way, you don't have to go uh, switch by switch configuring the VLANs. So basically, today what we're gonna do is we are going to use three 2960 switches, and we are going to configure BTP on the switches. So by default, when you purchase a Cisco switch, it will come with BTP server mode, all of the switches by default. So you have to change that configuration. So let's start configuring the switches. So in that way, you can see in real time how the switch BTP works and propagate basically the VLANs through the switches. So the first thing we are gonna do is uh, enable. We enter into global configuration mode. Okay, so we create BTP domain cisco.com. Okay, so as you see, it's changing the domain name from null to cisco.com. And basically, what happened is the following. As I was mentioning before, all of the Cisco switches by default, they come as BTP server mode. So if you try to change to BTP mode server, it will tell you once I press the enter key, it will tell you that the switch is already on BTP server mode. So uh, we are gonna jump into the other switches, and we are going to configure the switches to be on the same domain, because if the switches are in different domain, basically it's not going to propagate the VLANs across them. um, BTP domain cisco.com. Okay, and we changed the BTP mode since that switch is already on server mode, so we change it to client mode. So in that way, it can start uh, learning the VLANs from the switch that is acting as BTP server. So basically, if you come and check the VLANs, basically the only VLANs that you're gonna see in the switches are the five VLANs that come in the switches by default, which is 1002, 3, 4, 5, and VLAN 1, which is the default. There is no other VLAN here, as you see. So what we want is that the switch, since it's already configured on client mode, it will learn the VLANs from the switch that is acting as server mode. So we jump into uh, switch number 2. We enter into global configuration mode. Okay, and then we change the switch to client mode. All right, so we have done that on the switches. We assign the domain to the switches to be in the same domain, and these two switches that were on server mode, we changed that to be client mode. However, the switches that are on client mode, they are not gonna receive any VLAN updates on their database. The reason why is because the link is this link here right now is set up as an access link. So we have to change the link to be in trunk mode, so it can start basically passing the VLANs information to the switches, and also we have to allow the VLANs so the information can be passed through. So let's do that. We're gonna change the link into trunk. Okay, so basically the link is already on trunk mode, and now we are going to allow the VLANs. Okay, so we are gonna do the same thing for this link over here. All right, so we are changing the link from access to trunk, and now we are going to allow the VLANs. Okay, so we already have done that, and we are going to start creating the first VLAN. So when we come to the switch that is acting as BTP server, we're going to see that the switch also have only 5 VLAN. The one that comes by default, which is VLAN 1, 1002, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. We go into global configuration mode, and we are going to create the first VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and VLAN 30. Okay, so if we verify that, we now have 8 VLANs in the switch. Okay, so we have 3 extra VLAN, which is VLAN 10, 20, and 30. Okay, so the switch already is supposed to pass information to the other switches that are acting as client mode. So let's verify that. Okay, and as you see, the switches that are acting as client mode learned the VLAN from the switch that is acting as server mode. We're gonna go into switch 2 and verify the same information. And as you see, also switch number 2 learn the VLAN information from the switch that is active as server mode. All right, so that was all for today about BTP. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next episode.